An abandoned girl whispered, "I'm sorry, Mom," into the snow, thinking no one heard her. But someone did. A soldier with nothing left to believe in stopped, and what he did next changed everything. Lily, age 9, didn't cry when the door slammed shut behind her. She just stood there, shoulders shaking, sneakers soaked, a backpack half zipped with her life inside, while the snow curled around her ankles like a silent goodbye. She didn't scream, didn't beg. She already knew that wouldn't help. So she walked, past shuttered shops, past glowing windows, where warm families gathered around trees, past the diner where her mom used to doodle stars on napkins before everything went dark. And when her legs gave out near the old hardware store, she didn't collapse. She curled, small, silent, forgotten. The wooden box clutched in her arms held the last thing she had of her mother, a silver star necklace and a letter she couldn't bring herself to open. She whispered, "I'll be good, Mom. I promise. I'll find the star." The wind carried it away. She thought she was alone. But across the street, a man in a worn army jacket stopped walking. And what happened next would rewrite both their lives forever. The snow fell in relentless sheets, cloaking Chicago in a shroud of white that glittered under the neon flicker of storefronts. The air hummed with distant carols, the faint chime of church bells slicing through the night. But in the dim, cramped apartment on the city's edge, the spirit of Christmas was a stranger. Inside, a single bulb swayed from a frayed cord, casting jagged shadows across peeling wallpaper. Lily, 9 years old, sat curled on a sagging couch, her thin frame swallowed by a threadbare sweater 2 sizes too big. Her hazel eyes, wide and haunted, fixed on a small wooden box clutched in her trembling hands. A relic of her mother, Sarah, containing a silver star necklace and a crumpled letter, the last fragments of a life already fading. Lily's fingers traced the box's carved edges, her breath shallow. Hours earlier, the phone had rung, its shrill cry cutting through the silence. A cold voice from the county jail delivered the blow. Sarah, her mother, was dead. Cancer, late stage, had claimed her in a cell where she'd been locked away for 6 months, caught in a drug deal gone wrong. Lily had known her mother's struggles. Nights when Sarah's eyes were glassy, her hands shaking as she sketched wild, beautiful stars on scraps of paper, promising Lily they'd find their guiding star someday. But that promise had shattered with the call, leaving Lily alone in a world that felt too big, too cruel. The apartment door slammed open, jolting her. Mark, her mother's boyfriend, staggered in, reeking of cheap whiskey. His bloodshot eyes narrowed as he tossed his coat onto a chair, the leather creaking under his weight. "So she's gone, huh?" he slurred, not looking at Lily. "Your junkie mom finally kicked it." His words landed like blows, but Lily stayed silent, clutching the box tighter. Mark, a wiry man in his 40s with a perpetual scowl, had never been kind. He was a mechanic by trade, unemployed by choice, and saw Lily as little more than a burden, a reminder of Sarah's failures. "I ain't your dad," he snapped, rummaging through a drawer, tossing out old bills and cigarette stubs. "Never signed up for this. You hear me, kid? You're not my problem." Lily's lips parted, a plea forming, but the words died in her throat. She'd learned long ago that speaking only made things worse. Mark's gaze finally landed on her, hard and unyielding. "Pack your crap. You're out tonight." The room spun. "Please, Mark," she whispered, voice barely audible over the wind howling outside. "It's Christmas. I... I don't have anywhere to go." Her eyes stung, but she blinked back tears. Crying never helped. "Don't care," he barked, yanking a worn backpack from a closet and shoving it at her. "Your mom's gone, and I'm done playing babysitter. Get out before I throw you out." He stormed to the kitchen, grabbing a beer, his boots leaving muddy streaks on the floor. Lily's hands shook as she stuffed the wooden box into the backpack, adding a few tattered shirts, a pair of jeans with frayed cuffs, and a broken plastic doll, her only toy. The weight of his words pressed against her chest, heavier than the snow piling outside. Minutes later, Mark's hand clamped around her arm, dragging her to the door. The cold bit at her face as he flung it open, the wind roaring like a living thing. "Go!" he shouted, tossing the backpack into the snow. Lily stumbled onto the icy steps, her sneakers slipping. "Mark, please!" she cried, but the door slammed shut, the lock clicking with finality. The sound echoed in her ears louder than the storm. She stood frozen, the snow soaking through her thin sweater, her breath clouding in the frigid air. Lily bent to retrieve the backpack, her fingers numb as they closed around the damp straps. The street was desolate, the glow of Christmas lights from distant houses mocking her solitude. She walked, head bowed against the wind, her sneakers crunching through snowdrifts. Each step felt heavier, the weight of loss anchoring her to the ground. She passed a shuttered diner, its neon sign dark, and a boarded-up laundromat where she used to wait while Sarah washed clothes in better days. Now there was no one, no mother, no home. She found shelter under the awning of a closed hardware store, its windows papered with faded sale signs. The overhang offered little protection, but it was enough to shield her from the worst of the snow. Lily sank to the ground, pulling her knees to her chest, the backpack cradled like a lifeline. The wooden box pressed against her ribs, a reminder of Sarah's voice, soft and slurred, promising a star to guide her. "Mom," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to be good." The words dissolved into the wind, unanswered. The snow fell harder, piling around her like a prison. Lily's teeth chattered, her fingers clutching the star necklace through the box. She closed her eyes, imagining Sarah's arms around her, warm and safe, like the nights when her mother would sing lullabies before the drugs took hold. But the cold was real, the night unending, and the dream slipped away. She tucked herself tighter, a small figure against the vast, uncaring city, whispering one last prayer. "Please, Mom, send me your star." Across the street, a shadow moved, a man in a worn jacket, his steps slow but deliberate, cutting through the storm. Unseen, he paused, his gaze catching the faint outline of a child curled in the dark, her breath a fragile cloud in the freezing night. The wind howled, slicing through the Chicago night like a blade, but Alex barely felt it. His boots crunched against the snow, each step a rhythm to drown out the memories that clawed at him. Screams of fallen comrades, the crack of gunfire in a desert half a world away. At 30, Alex was a man unmoored, a former soldier fresh from Afghanistan, carrying a rucksack heavy with ghosts. Christmas lights flickered in the distance, their cheer a mockery of his solitude. He'd come home to a city that felt foreign, no family to greet him, no place to call his own, just a rented room and a mind that refused to rest. He sipped black coffee from a paper cup, its bitterness grounding him as he wandered the empty streets. The neon glow of a closed hardware store caught his eye, its awning sagging under snow. Beneath it, a small shape huddled, a child, barely visible in the dark, her knees drawn tight, a backpack clutched like a shield. Alex slowed, his breath catching. He'd seen this before. Kids in war zones, curled in rubble, eyes hollow with fear. His first instinct was to keep walking. Too many scams in cities, too many traps. But something in the girl's stillness, the way her hands trembled around that bag, pinned him in place. "Hey," he called softly, crouching a few feet away, his voice rough but gentle. "You okay, kid?" The girl flinched, her head snapping up. Her face was pale, snow dusting her tangled brown hair, her hazel eyes wide with distrust. She looked no older than 9, her sweater soaked and clinging to her thin frame. Alex unslung his army jacket, its faded green patched from years of service, and held it out. "You're freezing. Take this." She stared, unmoving, her fingers tightening on the bag. "I'm fine," she whispered, barely audible over the wind. Her voice shook, not just from cold, but from something deeper. Fear, maybe, or defiance. Alex stayed low, keeping his distance. "Fine. It doesn't look like sitting in a snowbank at midnight. What's your name?" "Lily," she said after a long pause, her eyes flicking to the ground. "Just sitting here for a bit." Her lie was fragile, like glass ready to shatter. Alex's jaw tightened. He knew that look. Stunned, hollow, like soldiers after their first firefight. "All right, Lily," he said, softening his tone. "I'm Alex. I'm not going to hurt you. But you can't stay out here. You'll freeze." She didn't respond, just hugged her bag tighter. Alex noticed a wooden box peeking from its open flap, a glint of silver catching the streetlight. "What's in there?" he asked, nodding at it. Lily's hand shot to cover it, protective. "Stuff from my mom," she mumbled. She, she's gone." The words cracked, and her shoulders slumped, as if saying it made it real. Alex's chest tightened. He'd heard those words before, from kids in villages reduced to ash, from himself when he lost his parents at 16. "I'm sorry," he said, meaning it. "How'd you end up out here?" Lily hesitated, then spoke in a rush, as if afraid the words would choke her. "Mom died today, in jail. Cancer. Mark, her boyfriend. He kicked me out, said I'm not his kid." Her voice broke, but no tears fell. She was too cold, too tired for that. Alex cursed under his breath, his grip tightening on the coffee cup. "That's rough," he said, keeping his anger in check. "Look, there's a diner down the street, open all night. Let me get you something hot to drink, maybe some food. You don't have to tell me anything else if you don't want to." Lily looked up, searching his face. Something in his steady gaze, worn but kind, made her nod just once. They walked in silence, the snow crunching underfoot. The diner's fluorescent lights spilled onto the street, a beacon in the storm. Inside, the air smelled of grease and coffee, the hum of a jukebox playing soft carols. Alex slid into a booth, Lily across from him, her backpack on her lap like armor. He ordered hot chocolate and a grilled cheese sandwich for her, coffee for himself. The waitress, a tired woman with a kind smile, didn't ask questions. Lily sipped the cocoa, her hands trembling less as the warmth spread. "Mom used to draw stars," she said suddenly, her voice small but clear. "Said one would guide me if I got lost. There's a letter in here," she tapped the box, "about a treasure in her old town, Wisconsin. I think she wanted me to find it." Alex leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. "What kind of treasure?" "Don't know," Lily admitted, pulling out a crumpled letter. She unfolded it carefully, revealing Sarah's shaky handwriting. "It says there's a book of her drawings and some money hidden in her old house. She called it my star to follow." Her eyes flickered with hope, then dimmed. "But I don't know how to get there." Alex read the letter, his jaw tight. A mother's last gift, hidden in a town 200 miles away. He thought of his own losses, the missions he couldn't complete, the lives he couldn't save. "Wisconsin's not far," he said, almost to himself. "I've got a truck." Lily's eyes widened, wary but curious. "Why would you help me?" He shrugged, a faint smile breaking through. "Used to help kids like you overseas. Guess it's a habit." The truth was deeper. He saw his younger self in her, alone and adrift. The waitress brought the sandwich, and Lily ate slowly, as if savoring every bite. Alex watched, his mind racing. He could call social services, hand her off, and walk away. But the thought of leaving her to a system that might fail her felt like abandoning a mission. "Look," he said, leaning back, "I can't promise much, but I can get you warm and fed tonight. Maybe tomorrow we'll figure out this treasure thing. Deal?" Lily studied him, then nodded, clutching the letter like a lifeline. Outside, the snow fell softer now, the city quiet under its blanket. For the first time that night, Lily's shoulders relaxed, and Alex felt a flicker of purpose, like a star breaking through the clouds. The diner's warmth lingered on Lily's skin as Alex led her through the snow-dusted streets, the city's Christmas lights fading into the distance. His pickup truck, a battered relic from his army days, rattled as he cranked the heater, filling the cab with a low hum. Lily sat curled in the passenger seat, her backpack clutched tight, the wooden box inside pressing against her chest like a heartbeat. Alex's apartment wasn't far, a single-story building on Chicago's fringe, its brick facade cracked and weary, much like the man who called it home. He unlocked the door, revealing a sparse room, a folding cot, a duffel bag stuffed with military gear, and a single photo of soldiers pinned to the wall, their faces blurred by time. "Make yourself at home," Alex said, his voice gruff but kind. He gestured to a worn sofa by the window, its cushions sagging. "Bathroom's down the hall. I'll heat up some food." Lily hesitated, her sneakers leaving wet smudges on the hardwood. The room smelled of leather and coffee, a stark contrast to the stale cigarette haze of Mark's apartment. She set her backpack down, eyes darting to the photo, a younger Alex smiling among men in desert fatigues. "Were you a soldier?" she asked, her voice small. "Was," Alex replied, rummaging through a cabinet. "Not anymore." He didn't elaborate, but the weight in his tone told her enough. He pulled out a can of soup, pouring it into a pot on a portable stove. Lily watched, her fingers tracing the star necklace through the box. The silence wasn't heavy, but it carried questions neither was ready to ask. Alex tried calling social services, but the line rang to a holiday voicemail. "Figures," he muttered, hanging up. "Christmas Eve. Nobody's working." He glanced at Lily, who sat rigid, like she expected to be sent back into the snow. "You're staying here tonight," he said firmly. "We'll sort it out tomorrow." Her eyes widened, a flicker of relief mixed with doubt. "You sure?" she whispered. "Sure as I am about this soup," he said, forcing a grin. He handed her a towel and a bottle of water. "Go clean up. You're soaked." Lily nodded, disappearing into the bathroom. The lock clicked, a small sound that echoed her need for safety. Alex sank onto a chair, rubbing his temples. Images of war flickered. Children in rubble, eyes like lilies. He shook them off, focusing on the stove's hum. When Lily emerged, her hair damp but neater, she wore the same sweater, now dry but still oversized. Alex set a bowl of tomato soup and a glass of milk on a folding table. "Eat slow," he advised. "Don't want you getting sick." Lily nodded, sipping carefully, the warmth spreading through her. The soup was plain, but it tasted like care, something she hadn't felt since Sarah's better days. They sat in quiet, the only sound the radiator's clank and the distant wail of a siren. Lily's eyes wandered to her backpack, then back to Alex. "Mom used to draw," she said suddenly, her voice stronger. "She wasn't always sick. She made stars, said they'd guide me. Her letter," she pulled the wooden box from her bag, opening it to reveal the crumpled paper. "It says there's a book of her drawings in Wisconsin, her old house, and some money. She called it my treasure." Alex took the letter, his calloused fingers careful with the fragile paper. Sarah's handwriting was shaky but deliberate, describing a house in a small town, a hidden box under an oak tree. 200 miles, he murmured, calculating. She really thought this through. He looked at Lily, her face lit by a fragile hope. Why'd she hide it there? "She grew up there," Lily said, her voice catching. "Before things got bad. She said it was her safe place. Wanted me to have it." Her fingers brushed the star necklace, its silver dull but precious. Alex nodded, his mind drifting to missions where he'd carried letters for soldiers, last words to families never delivered. This felt like one of those. "You believe in this treasure?" he asked, leaning forward. Lily nodded, fierce despite her exhaustion. "It's all I've got left of her." Alex's jaw tightened. He saw himself at 16, alone after his parents' crash, clinging to a dog tag his father left behind. "All right," he said, voice low. "We'll figure it out. But tonight, you sleep." He pulled a blanket from his cot, draping it over the sofa. "That's your bed. I'll take the floor." Lily hesitated, then spoke softly. "You don't have to do this. I'm nobody to you." Alex paused, his back to her, the photo of his squad catching his eye. "You're not nobody," he said, turning. "I've seen kids like you before. Left behind. I couldn't help them all, but I can help you, at least for now." Lily climbed onto the sofa, pulling the blanket tight. Alex dimmed the light, settling on the floor with his rucksack as a pillow. The room was quiet, save for the snow tapping the window. Lily's voice broke the silence, barely a whisper. "Mom said stars show up when it's darkest. You think that's true?" Alex didn't answer right away, his mind on a night in Afghanistan, a sky full of stars over a burning village. "Yeah," he said finally. "Sometimes they do." As Lily's breathing slowed, sleep claiming her, Alex stared at the ceiling, his heart heavy. He thought of the kids he couldn't save, the ones whose eyes still haunted him. Lily wasn't one of them, not yet. He glanced at her, curled under the blanket, the wooden box tucked close. Tomorrow he'd take her to Wisconsin, find this treasure, give her something to hold on to. It wasn't a mission, not like the ones he'd trained for, but it felt like one, the kind you didn't walk away from. Outside, the snow fell softly, blanketing the city in silence. In the dim light, Lily's hand rested on the box, her fingers curled around the promise of a star. The dawn broke gray and heavy, the snowstorm easing into a delicate flurry that dusted Alex's old pickup truck. Inside the cab, Lily sat bundled in his spare army jacket, her backpack on her lap, the wooden box's edges peeking out like a talisman. The engine growled to life, and they pulled away from the city's edge, Chicago's skyline fading in the rearview mirror. The road stretched ahead, a ribbon of ice and asphalt cutting through fields blanketed in white. Alex gripped the wheel, his eyes scanning the horizon, while Lily stared out the window, her breath fogging the glass. The silence between them was comfortable now, stitched together by the night's shared confessions. "You ever been to Wisconsin?" Alex asked, breaking the quiet. His voice was steady, but his knuckles were white, memories of desert convoys flickering at the edges of his mind. Lily shook her head, her fingers tracing the star necklace through the box. "Mom talked about it," she said softly. "Said it was quiet, trees everywhere, not like the city." Her voice held a longing that made Alex's chest ache, a reminder of the home he'd lost long ago. He turned on the radio, a crackly country station filling the cab with twangy notes. "Pick a game," he said, glancing at her. "Keeps the road short." Lily's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Count red cars," she suggested, her voice tentative. Alex grinned. "Red cars it is. Loser buys lunch." Her eyes brightened, and for a moment, she was just a kid, not a girl carrying a lifetime of grief. The miles rolled by, punctuated by their game, Lily pointing excitedly at a scarlet sedan, Alex pretending to miss one to keep her winning. They stopped at a gas station diner, its neon sign buzzing faintly. Inside, the air smelled of bacon and burnt coffee. Alex ordered burgers, and Lily, clutching her cocoa, watched him with a mix of curiosity and caution. "You're good at this," she said suddenly, her voice muffled by the mug. "Helping people, I mean." Alex shrugged, poking at his fries. "Trained for it. Army teaches you to keep moving, no matter what." He didn't mention the nights he woke sweating, the faces of those he couldn't save haunting him. Instead, he pulled a crumpled map from his glove box, spreading it on the table. "Show me where we're going," he said. Lily pointed to a speck labeled Pine Hollow, her finger trembling slightly. "Mom's letter said it's under an oak tree in the backyard." They were back on the road when Lily's breath hitched, a sharp wheeze cutting through the cab. She fumbled in her bag, her face paling. "My inhaler," she gasped, her voice tight. Alex's training kicked in, calm under pressure. "Easy, kid," he said, pulling over. "Slow breaths. Where's it at?" She shook her head, eyes wide with panic. "Left it at Mark's." Her wheeze deepened, her small frame shaking. Alex cursed under his breath, scanning the road signs. A pharmacy glowed a mile ahead. "Hold on," he said, flooring the gas. The truck skidded slightly, but he kept it steady, talking to keep her calm. "Breathe with me, Lily. In, out. You're tougher than this." She nodded, clutching his sleeve, her trust in him raw and unspoken. At the pharmacy, he rushed in, returning with an inhaler and a bottle of water. "Use it slow," he instructed, kneeling beside her open door. She took a puff, her breathing easing, color returning to her cheeks. "You're okay," he said, relief flooding him. "Your mom didn't mention you had asthma." Lily's eyes dropped. She didn't always notice. "It's not bad usually, just cold makes it worse." Alex nodded, filing it away. He'd need to keep an eye on her, like he had with his squad in the field. "We'll get you a spare," he promised, climbing back into the driver's seat. "No more surprises." The road wound through snow-draped pines, the landscape softening as they neared Pine Hollow. Lily pulled out a napkin from the diner, sketching a star with a pen she'd found in the glove box. "This is what Mom drew," she said, holding it up. The lines were shaky but bold, a starburst with rays like a beacon. "She said it'd lead me home." Alex glanced at it, his throat tight. "It's leading you now," he said, his voice low. Hours later, the truck rolled into Pine Hollow, a sleepy town of clapboard houses and a single blinking stoplight. The address from Sarah's letter led to a weathered cottage, its windows boarded, its yard choked with weeds. Alex parked, scanning the street. "Looks empty," he said, stepping out. Lily followed, her sneakers sinking into the snow. The oak tree loomed in the backyard, its gnarled branches bare against the sky. A neighbor, an old woman with a knit scarf, peered over her fence. "You folks lost?" she called. Alex explained, mentioning Sarah's name. The woman's face softened. "Sarah's girl? Lord, you've got her eyes." She introduced herself as Mrs. Harper, offering to unlock the gate. "The house has been empty since Sarah sold it years back," she said, "but she always loved that tree." Lily's gaze fixed on the oak, hope flickering in her eyes. Alex felt it too, a pull towards something bigger than them both. "Let's find that treasure," he said, grabbing a shovel from the truck. But as they approached the tree, a chill ran through him, not from the cold, but from a soldier's instinct. Something told him this wasn't just a scavenger hunt, it was a mission, and he'd see it through, for the girl who'd already started to feel like his own. The Pine Hollow dawn was crisp, the snow-dusted yard of the old cottage glowing faintly under a sky just beginning to blush pink. Lily stood by the gnarled oak, her breath clouding in the chill, her small hands gripping the star necklace through her sweater. Alex, shovel in hand, scanned the ground, his soldier's instincts sharp despite the quiet. Mrs. Harper, the neighbor with the knit scarf, had left them with a rusty key to the gate and a promise to check in later. The cottage loomed behind them, its boarded windows like closed eyes, guarding secrets of a life Lily's mother had left behind. "Let's start here," Alex said, tapping the shovel against the oak's base, where roots twisted like veins into the frozen earth. Lily nodded, her eyes bright with a mix of hope and dread, as if the ground held both her mother's love and her final goodbye. Alex dug carefully, the blade biting into dirt and frost, each scoop revealing nothing but pebbles and roots. Lily knelt beside him, her fingers brushing the soil, as if she could feel Sarah's presence in the earth itself. Minutes stretched into an hour, the cold seeping through their gloves. Then a dull thunk, metal against metal. Alex's pulse quickened as he cleared away dirt, revealing a small rusted tin box, its lid etched with a faint star. Lily gasped, her hands trembling as she reached for it. "That's it," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Alex pried it open, the hinges groaning, revealing a leather-bound sketchbook and a sealed envelope. Inside the book, Sarah's drawings burst forth, stars in wild, vibrant strokes, some cradling tiny figures, others exploding across pages like beacons in a storm. The envelope held a roll of worn bills, maybe $500, and a letter in Sarah's shaky script. "Lily, my star, this is for you. Follow it home. I'm sorry I couldn't." Lily's fingers traced the sketches, her eyes glistening. "She drew these for me," she said, voice cracking, "even when she was sick." Alex's throat tightened, memories of letters he'd carried for soldiers, words meant for loved ones, never sent, flooding back. He rested a hand on her shoulder. "She loved you, kid, more than anything." Before he could say more, a shadow fell across the yard. A familiar figure staggered through the gate. Mark, his face flushed with liquor and rage, eyes locked on Lily. "Thought you could run off with my money?" he snarled, his voice cutting through the morning's hush. Alex stood, placing himself between Lily and the man, his stance calm but unyielding, like a soldier facing a threat. "There's no your money here," he said, voice low and steady. "This belongs to her." Mark sneered, stepping closer, his breath reeking of whiskey. "She's mine to deal with. Hand her over or I'll call the cops for kidnapping." Lily shrank back, clutching the tin box, her breath hitching, a telltale wheeze starting. Alex's eyes narrowed, recognizing the danger. "You abandoned a kid in a blizzard," he said, his tone cold as steel. "Cops won't like that story. Walk away now." Mark lunged, grabbing for Lily's arm, but Alex was faster, sidestepping and pinning the man's wrist in a controlled grip, a move honed in combat zones. "Don't test me," Alex growled, his voice a quiet threat. Mark cursed, wrenching free, but the fire in his eyes dimmed. He stumbled back, muttering about, "Not worth it," and fled into the snowy street. Alex watched him go, his heart pounding, not from the confrontation, but from the fear in Lily's eyes. Her wheeze grew sharper, her face paling as she clutched her chest. "Can't breathe," she gasped, dropping the box. Alex's training kicked in. Stay with me, Lily, he said, scooping her up and sprinting to the truck. The hospital was 10 minutes away, a small clinic on the town's edge. He drove with one hand, the other holding Lily's, talking to keep her calm. In, out, slow. You're tougher than this storm. She nodded, her grip weak but trusting. At the clinic, a nurse administered a nebulizer, the mist easing Lily's breathing. Alex sat by her bed, the sketchbook open on his lap, its stars a silent comfort. The doctor, a keen-eyed woman, confirmed it was asthma, triggered by stress and cold. She needs regular meds, she said. You her dad? Alex hesitated, the question hitting like a stray bullet. Not yet, he said softly, glancing at Lily, who was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. When she was stable, Lily reached for the sketchbook, her fingers steady now. You didn't let him take me, she said, her voice small but fierce. Alex smiled, handing her the book. Nobody's taking you anywhere you don't want to go. She flipped to a drawing of a star cradling a tiny girl, then looked at him. You're like this, she said, tapping the page. Mom's star. Alex's chest ached, a warmth spreading he hadn't felt in years. He pulled out a pen, sketching a quick stick figure of a soldier beside her star. Then we're a team, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Lily's lips curved, a ghost of a smile. The doctor returned with a prescription and a warning to avoid stress. Alex nodded, his mind already on the road back to Chicago, and the fight he knew was coming to keep Lily safe. As they left the clinic, the snow had stopped, the sky clearing to reveal a single star winking above. Alex carried the tin box, Lily walking close, her hand brushing his. The treasure was theirs, but the real prize was the trust growing between them, fragile but unyielding, like a star breaking through the darkest night. The old pickup truck rumbled through the fading light, its tires crunching over snow-slicked roads as Alex and Lily left Pine Hollow behind. The tin box, now safely tucked in Lily's backpack, seemed to carry the weight of Sarah's dreams, its contents a fragile bridge between a lost mother and her daughter. Lily sat quietly, her fingers tracing the star necklace around her neck, her breathing steady after the hospital's care. Alex kept his eyes on the road, but his mind churned. Mark's threat, the treasure, and the girl beside him who was starting to feel like more than a mission. The sky darkened, heavy clouds rolling in, promising a storm that would make their journey back to Chicago a battle. Halfway through Wisconsin's empty highways, the snow began to fall again, thick and relentless, obscuring the road. Alex cursed under his breath, the truck's wipers struggling against the onslaught. We're not making it far in this, he said, spotting a dirt track veering off the road. There's a place we can wait it out. He turned toward a shadowed outline, a derelict farmhouse, its sagging roof barely visible through the blizzard. The truck skidded to a stop, and Alex grabbed his rucksack, slinging it over his shoulder. Stay close, he told Lily, helping her out into the biting wind. The farmhouse door creaked open, revealing a dusty interior, splintered floorboards, a cracked fireplace, and furniture draped in cobwebs. Lily shivered, clutching her backpack as Alex knelt to inspect the hearth. We'll get warm, he promised, stacking brittle logs from a corner pile. His hands moved with practiced ease, sparking a flame that cast flickering shadows across the room. Lily watched, her eyes reflecting the fire's glow, a mix of awe and exhaustion. You know how to do everything, she said softly, settling on a threadbare rug. Alex chuckled, the sound rough but warm. Army tricks. You learn to make do. He handed her a granola bar from his pack, then sat across from her, the fire crackling between them. The storm howled outside, rattling the windows, but the room felt like a fragile sanctuary. Lily nibbled the bar, her gaze distant. Mom used to hide me in places like this, she said suddenly, her voice barely above the wind's moan. When she was sick, she'd lock me in a closet so I wouldn't see her with the needles. I'd hear her crying, but I couldn't help. Alex's jaw tightened, his mind flashing to nights in Afghanistan, hiding kids from gunfire in crumbling huts. You were brave, he said, his voice low. Braver than most. You're still here. Lily looked at him, her eyes searching. You were in a war, right? Did you lose people? The question hit like a stray round, and Alex's hand stilled on the fire poker. He nodded, staring into the flames. My best friend Jake. Bomb took him. I was supposed to have his back. His voice cracked, the guilt raw even now. I keep seeing him, nights like this. Lily reached into her backpack, pulling out the sketchbook. She flipped to a page, a star cradling a tiny figure, and slid it toward him. Mom said stars are for people who need them most. Maybe Jake's one. Watching you. Alex's throat burned, her words cutting through the walls he'd built. He touched the page, the paper soft under his calloused fingers. Maybe, he whispered, meeting her gaze. Maybe you're mine. The moment broke when his phone buzzed, the screen glowing with a social services number. Alex answered, his voice steady despite the knot in his chest. The caseworker's tone was clipped. Mr. Turner, you need to bring Lily to a shelter by morning. You're not her guardian. We can't allow this. Alex's grip tightened, his eyes on Lily, who was sketching a new star on a scrap of paper. She's safe with me, he said firmly. I'm filing for custody. You'll hear from my lawyer. The call ended, but the weight lingered. He wasn't family, not yet. But leaving her to a system that might fail her wasn't an option. Lily looked up, sensing the shift. They want to take me away, don't they? Her voice was small, but her eyes were fierce, like she was ready to fight the world. Alex knelt beside her, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Not if I can help it, he said. We're a team, remember? She nodded, her fingers tightening around the pencil. To lighten the mood, he suggested, let's make this place a Christmas stop. Got any ideas? Her face lit up, a rare spark. A tree, she said, like Mom used to make from paper. They scavenged the farmhouse, finding old newspapers and twine. Alex showed her how to twist the pages into branches, and Lily decorated them with foil scraps from his pack, her laughter soft but real. They propped the makeshift tree by the fire, its silhouette dancing in the glow. Alex pulled his army medallion from his pocket, its edges worn smooth. For you, he said, hanging it on the tree. My lucky charm. Lily hesitated, then tore a star from her sketch, pinning it to the top. For you, she whispered, her voice trembling with trust. As the storm raged, they sat by the fire, the makeshift Christmas tree a beacon in the dark. Alex's resolve hardened. He'd fight for her, not just tonight, but for as long as it took. The phone call had lit a fire in him, one that burned brighter than the one in the hearth. Lily curled up under his jacket, her breathing steady. The sketchbook opened to a star that seemed to shine just for them. The storm's fury had softened by morning, leaving a crystalline hush over the snow-draped farmhouse. Alex and Lily emerged from their makeshift haven, the paper Christmas tree left behind like a quiet vow. The pickup truck groaned to life, its engine cutting through the stillness as they resumed their journey back to Chicago. Lily sat close to the heater, her sketchbook open on her lap, her fingers tracing the star she'd drawn for Alex the night before. He drove with a steady hand, but his mind was a battlefield. Mark's threats, the social worker's call, and the weight of a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. The medallion he'd given Lily glinted around her neck, a symbol of a bond he was determined to protect. The city's skyline loomed as they hit the outskirts, gray and jagged against a clearing sky. Alex's phone buzzed again, an unknown number. He answered, his voice clipped. Turner. A gruff voice barked through. This is Officer Daniels. Got a report you're holding a kid against her guardian's wishes. Pull over at the next precinct. Alex's blood ran cold. Mark. The man's venom hadn't faded. He'd spun a lie to drag Lily back. She's safe, Alex said, his tone steel. Her guardian abandoned her. I've got proof. The officer grunted, unimpressed. Be at precinct 12 in an hour. Lily's eyes widened, catching his tension. Is it Mark? She asked, her voice trembling, but fierce. Alex nodded, keeping his gaze on the road. He's trying to stir trouble. We'll handle it. Her hand tightened on the sketchbook, her breath hitching. But no wheeze followed. The inhaler was close. A small victory. You won't let him take me, right? She whispered. Alex met her gaze, his jaw set. Not a chance, kid. At the precinct, a squat brick building buzzing with activity, Alex and Lily were ushered into a sterile meeting room. A social worker, Ms. Carter, sat across a metal table, her glasses perched low, a file open before her. Officer Daniels, broad and stern, loomed nearby. Mark slouched in a corner, his eyes bloodshot, a smirk playing on his lips. "That's my kid," he lied smoothly, pointing at Lily. "This guy snatched her." Lily shrank into Alex, her hand clutching his sleeve. Alex slid Sarah's letter and the sketchbook across the table. "Read this," he said, his voice calm but unyielding. "Her mother's dead. This man kicked her out in a blizzard. I'm keeping her safe." Ms. Carter scanned the letter, her brow furrowing. She glanced at Lily, who nodded, her voice small but clear. "He threw my bag out and locked the door. I didn't steal anything. He just didn't want me." Mark scoffed, but his bravado cracked under her steady gaze. Daniels crossed his arms. "You got proof of abandonment?" Alex pulled out his phone, showing a time-stamped photo he'd taken of Lily under the awning, soaked and shivering. "Found her like this, Christmas Eve. And this," he handed over a hospital report from Pine Hollow, noting Lily's asthma flare-up from stress. "She's better with me." Ms. Carter's pen paused, her eyes softening as she looked at Lily. "Is this true, sweetheart?" Lily nodded, her voice stronger now. "I want to stay with Alex. He's my star." The room stilled, Mark's smirk fading. Ms. Carter sighed, closing the file. "Mr. Turner, you're not family. Protocol says Lily goes to a shelter until we sort this out." Alex leaned forward, his voice low but fierce. "Protocol didn't find her freezing in the snow." "I did. I'm filing for custody, and I've got a lawyer who'll back me." He'd called an old Army buddy, a legal aid volunteer, that morning. "Give me a chance to prove I'm what she needs." Before Ms. Carter could respond, Alex's mind flashed. A desert road. Jake's laugh cut short by an explosion. The weight of a promise broken. He blinked it away, but Lily's hand squeezed his, her eyes wide and wet. "He's my hero," she said, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. "He didn't leave me." Alex's chest tightened, the words pulling him back from the edge. He nodded at her, a silent vow. Ms. Carter relented, granting temporary custody under supervision. "You'll need a stable job, Mr. Turner," she warned, "and a psych eval given your military history." Alex nodded, his mind already racing. He'd contacted a friend about a garage for veterans, repair work, something he could build. Mark stormed out, muttering curses, his threat hollow now. Daniels escorted him, ensuring he wouldn't return. In the truck, Lily was quiet, her sketchbook open to a new drawing, a soldier and a girl under a star. "You meant that?" Alex asked, his voice rough. "About me being your hero?" She nodded, her smile small but real. "Mom said heroes show up when you need them most." Alex swallowed, his eyes burning. He started the engine, the road ahead clearer now. That night in his apartment, Alex sat at the table, sketching a plan for the garage. Lily slept on the sofa, the medallion glinting in the lamplight. He glanced at her, her face peaceful for the first time. The fight wasn't over, but he'd face it. For her, for the star they were both following. The snow had long melted, replaced by the tender green of spring, as Alex's pickup rolled into Pine Hollow, its engine a familiar rumble against the quiet streets. Lily sat in the passenger seat, her sketchbook open to a page bursting with stars, her fingers smudged with charcoal from a morning spent drawing. The medallion Alex had given her hung around her neck, catching the sunlight as they pulled up to a white cottage with a red shingled roof, its garden blooming with wildflowers. A year had passed since that desperate Christmas Eve, and the world felt different now, warmer, brighter, like a sky clearing after a storm. Alex glanced at Lily, her hazel eyes steady, no longer haunted, and felt a quiet pride settle in his chest. They stepped out, the air sweet with lilac and fresh-cut grass. The cottage was theirs now, bought with savings from Alex's new venture. A garage called Starlight Repairs, a haven for veterans needing work and purpose. Lily carried her backpack, lighter now, filled with pencils and a new journal, the old tin box safely stored on a shelf inside. "Ready to see your room again?" Alex asked, unlocking the front door. Lily nodded, her smile small but radiant, a far cry from the trembling girl he'd found in the snow. Inside, the house glowed with warmth. Wooden floors polished, walls painted a soft blue, a stark contrast to the barren apartment they'd left behind. Lily ran upstairs to the room facing the oak tree, its window framing the same branches where they'd unearthed Sarah's treasure. She set her sketchbook on a desk, beside a star-shaped lamp Alex had found at a market. "It's perfect," she whispered, her fingers brushing the plaid bedspread. Alex leaned against the doorframe, his heart full. "You can change anything you want," he said. "This is home." Lily turned, her eyes bright. "It already is." She pulled out a drawing, a vibrant star cradling a soldier and a girl, their hands linked. "For you," she said, handing it to him. Alex took it, his throat tight. The image, a mirror of their journey. He pinned it to the wall beside a photo of Sarah he'd framed from her sketchbook, her smile echoing Lily's. Life hadn't been easy. Lily still flinched at loud noises, her asthma flaring on bad days. But the inhaler was always close, and Alex had learned to move softly, speak gently. He'd faced his own demons. Nights when PTSD dragged him back to Afghanistan, Jake's face vivid in the dark. But Lily's presence, her quiet trust, anchored him. She'd joined a local art class, her talent blooming under a teacher who saw Sarah's gift in her lines. Alex's garage thrived, employing 3 veterans, its walls decorated with Lily's stars, a logo she'd designed herself. That evening, they sat in the garden under a sky ablaze with constellations. Christmas was months away, but the air held a festive hum, as if the town knew their story. Lily pointed upward, her voice soft. "Mom said there's always one star you can see, no matter how dark it gets." She paused, her hand finding Alex's. "You're mine." His eyes misted, the words cutting deeper than any medal he'd earned. "And you're mine, kid," he said, his voice rough but steady. "Always will be." The past year had tested them. Social services had scrutinized Alex's life, his finances, his mental health. But the lawyer, an old Army friend, had fought hard. Lily's testimony, clear and unwavering, had sealed it. "Alex is my family." The judge, moved by her words and the evidence of her recovery, granted permanent custody. Alex was now her father, her name officially Lily Turner, inked on a new birth certificate that felt like a promise kept. They'd returned to Pine Hollow for good, the town embracing them like long-lost kin. Mrs. Harper, the neighbor, brought cookies weekly, her eyes twinkling as she watched Lily sketch. The garage became a community hub, veterans sharing stories while Lily handed out lemonade, her laughter a melody that healed old wounds. Alex had started a support group for soldiers with PTSD, using his own scars to guide others. Lily often sitting in, her quiet presence a reminder of why they fought. As the stars deepened above, Alex pulled a small box from his pocket, a silver star pendant, a twin to Sarah's. "Found this at the market," he said, fastening it beside the medallion on Lily's neck. "Your mom's star and mine together." Lily's eyes widened, her fingers tracing the new charm. "Like we're a team," she said, her voice trembling with joy. They sat in silence, the night wrapping them in its gentle embrace. Alex thought of Sarah, her sketches, her love for Lily that had guided them here. He thought of Jake, his lost friend, and wondered if he was watching from some distant star. The pain of the past hadn't vanished, but it had softened, reshaped by the girl beside him. Lily leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, and for the first time, Alex felt whole. In the distance, Pine Hollow's lights twinkled, a quiet promise of new beginnings. Lily whispered, "Thank you, Christmas, for bringing him to me." Alex smiled, his heart scarred but open, a star of his own rising in the dark.